When this boy was kidnapped, there was no way to escape, but did he manage to escape or not? Let's see today's video. The movie opens with a boy riding his bicycle down a quiet street when a black van suddenly screeches to stop in front of him. The doors swing open, and the boy is taken. There's a dangerous kidnapper in the city, someone who targets and kills young boys. We're then introduced to a boy named Finney who lives in the same city with his father and younger sister. Their mother passed away some time ago, and their father hasn't been the same since. He drinks heavily and often lashes out at his children. At school, Finney gets bullied by a few boys, but one day another kid steps in to defend him, chasing the bullies away. The boy smiles and says he's terrible at math, asking Finney if he can help him study. Finney agrees, and the two quickly become good friends. A few days later, two police officers show up at Finney's school. They're investigating the disappearance of the same boy we saw at the beginning of the movie, the one who vanished while riding his bike. The officers question Finney's sister, asking how she knows the kidnapper had black balloons. It turns out the missing boy's sister is in the same class as Finney's sister. She had told her that the man who took her brother was carrying black balloons. The officers confirm that black balloons were indeed found at the scene of the abduction and demand to know how Finney's sister knew about it. She quietly answers that she saw it in a dream. We learn that whatever Finney's sister dreams about eventually comes true. When the officers visit Finney's father to ask questions, he gets angry. Later that night, he beats his daughter for talking to the police. He yells at her for mentioning the black balloons and says she's starting to sound just like her mother. Her father say your mother always dreaming about things that don't exist. He warns her never to tell anyone about her dreams again. Finney and his sister are heartbroken by their father's cruelty. Meanwhile, the same friend who once defended Finney at school is seen walking home when the black van appears in front of him. The kidnapper steps out and grabs him, shoving him into the van. With his friend gone, Finney has no one left to stand up for him. The bullies start harassing him again until his sister steps in to protect him. She tells him to go home while she spends the night at her friend's place. On his way home, Finney notices the same black van parked nearby. A man is crouched down, pretending to pick up things from the ground. When Finney stops to help, the man suddenly opens the van door, releasing a bunch of black balloons. Before Finney can react, the man grabs him and forces him inside. When Finney wakes up, he finds himself trapped in a dark, soundproof basement. No one can hear him scream. It was no use screaming. No one could hear him. A moment later, the kidnapper appeared, wearing a terrifying mask. He called himself the Grabber. In a calm but chilling voice, he told Finney not to be afraid, that he wouldn't hurt him. Then he left, locking the door behind him. Finney looked around the basement. There was only a broken black phone on the wall, a small window, and an old toilet. The phone didn't work. Its wire was completely cut. Feeling trapped and desperate, Finney wondered how he could ever escape. Then, out of nowhere, the phone rang. Finney froze. It shouldn't have been possible. The wire was damaged. Just as he reached to pick it up, the ringing stopped. Moments later, the grabber returned. He looked at the phone and said it had rung before too, though he didn't know why. Without another word, he left again. As soon as he was gone, the phone rang once more. This time, Finney picked it up. A voice spoke to him. It was the same boy who had been taken at the start of the story, the one on the bicycle. But it wasn't really him. It was his spirit. The boy's voice told Finney there was a loose tile on the floor. If he lifted it and dug beneath, he could make a tunnel and escape. Finney immediately got to work, digging as quietly as he could. He dumped the dirt into the toilet and poured water over it to hide any trace of what he was doing. That same night, Finney's sister had another dream. She saw the grabber and her brother trapped with him. Meanwhile, the grabber brought Finney some food and, strangely, left the basement door open. Just as Finney was about to make a run for it, the phone rang again. A different boy's voice came through. It was another one of Finney's old schoolmates, one of the grabber's victims. He told Finney that all the boys who had been killed were still there, their souls connected to the black phone. They were trying to help him escape. The boy on the call warned Finney not to go upstairs. The grabber left the door open on purpose, waiting to kill him if he tried to flee. The voice then said, I hid a rope in this room. Use it to reach the window and get help. Finney found the rope but couldn't quite reach the window, no matter how hard he tried. Meanwhile, Finney's sister told their father about her dream. She said she saw the man with the mask and knew where he was keeping Finney. Her father, frightened and desperate, finally believed her and decided to help search for his son. At the same time, two detectives continued investigating the string of kidnappings. Their search led them to a small house owned by a man who lived with his brother. When questioned, the man admitted that he suspected something strange was going on. He believed the kidnapper, who had been abducting children, might actually be living right there. The officers left after talking to him, but the shocking truth was that Finney was actually imprisoned in the basement of that same house. The man had no idea about it. His own brother was the kidnapper, the one who had been abducting children. He didn't know his brother's true nature or the horrible things he had done. His brother's name was the Grabber, and the man didn't even realize there was a basement beneath his house. Meanwhile, the Grabber brought food down for Finney. He told him, "Tell me your name, and I'll let you go." Scared and desperate, Finney gave him a fake name. The Grabber became furious, threw the food aside, and tossed a newspaper in front of him. The paper had the story of Finney's kidnapping, with his real name printed in bold letters. Enraged, the Grabber stormed out. Moments later, the phone on the wall rang again. When Finney answered, he heard the voice of a boy's spirit. The ghost told him that the Grabber hadn't killed him yet, because he was waiting for Finney to play his game. It was the perfect time to escape, the spirit said, because the Grabber was likely asleep. The boy also told him that the number from his bicycle lock was the password to open the door, and he had written it on the wall. Finney slowly made his way to the door, entered the number, and managed to unlock it. But just as he was about to get out, the Grabber woke up. His dog started barking loudly, and the Grabber caught Finney again. Poor Finney was dragged back and locked in the basement once more. Soon, the phone rang again. Another boy's voice warned him that if he didn't escape within a day, the Grabber would kill him. The spirit told him about a hidden way out. He could break through a wall, where an old refrigerator was hidden behind it, and crawl out through there. Finney followed the plan, broke the wall, and reached the fridge, but it was locked from the outside. He was trapped again, defeated and hopeless. Finney felt sure that the Grabber would kill him like all the others. Then, the phone rang one more time. This time, it was the voice of the boy who used to protect Finney at school. The spirit told him to fill the phone's receiver with dirt and use it as a weapon. Meanwhile, Finney's sister was riding her bicycle in the rain, searching for the Grabber's house. She had seen it before in her dreams. On her way, she suddenly saw the spirits of the 5 boys the Grabber had already killed. Terrified, she fell off her bike, and when she looked up, she saw the same house from her dream right in front of her. She immediately called the police and told them about the house she'd seen. At the same time, the Grabber's brother began to suspect something was wrong. He went downstairs to the basement and was shocked to find Finney alive. But before he could help, the Grabber appeared and killed him. Now, the Grabber turned his attention to. He tied his dog to the door and went after the boy. Finney tried to dodge him, running in panic, but the Grabber fell into the pit Finney had dug earlier. Seizing the chance, Finney wrapped the black phone's wire around his neck and strangled him to death. Even then, Finney couldn't escape. The dog was still guarding the door. Thinking fast, he tossed a piece of meat toward the animal. The dog moved away from the entrance, and using the password he'd learned, Finney opened the door and finally escaped. As Finney stepped outside, he saw several police cars surrounding the area. It was then that the truth finally came out. The Grabber actually owned 2 houses. He kept the bodies of the boys he killed in one house and imprisoned his victims in the other. The officers hadn't found Finney earlier because the 2 houses stood directly across from each other. When everything was revealed, Finney's father broke down in tears. He apologized to his children, promising he would never hurt them again. Later, Finney returned to school. Everyone stared at him, whispering his name, the boy who escaped the Grabber and ended his reign of terror. He wasn't the same frightened kid anymore. Something inside him had changed forever. By the end of the story, we learn an important lesson. Never help a stranger without thinking. Sometimes a single careless act can lead to a tragedy, just like what happened to Finney and the other children. And with that, the film comes to an end. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please like and subscribe.